I mean, the question, don't you ever say, maybe I'm wrong?
No. The polls are notoriously unreliable in the sense that they change all the time. They bounce around all over the place. I think we're seeing already from others, don't take it from me, look at a piece that appeared yesterday in the New York Times, not exactly a friendly publication, but a piece by Mr. O'Hanlon and Mr. Pollock on the situation in Iraq. They're just back from visiting over there. They both have been strong critics of the war, both worked in the prior administration, but now saying that they think there's a possibility indeed that we could be successful. If you closed Guantanamo, you'd have to find someplace else to put these folks.
You have to torture them when they're there?
We don't do torture.
How come in the past, though, there's been a question on that?
Well,
have you ever said we support certain methods of physical harm?
We support the ability of certain agencies of the federal government to have the capacity to use enhanced techniques for interrogation. We have authorization that we got from the Congress to, in fact, do that. And they do it under very careful safeguards and very stringent safeguards. We're careful not to torture. We're not in the business of torturing people.
What's enhanced?
That would not be, we don't discuss specific techniques, because the last thing you want to do is tell your potential adversary what your techniques are, because that would allow them to train and practice to resist it.
The Senate Judiciary Committee is subpoenaing Karl Rove in connection with the firing of federal prosecutors. Why shouldn't he appear?
There is a strong tradition that the President of the United States is entitled to have people around him who advise him, who do not then have to go before the Congress and testify with respect to the advice they gave the President. It's different for a cabinet member, for example. If you're a Secretary of Defense, you are confirmed by the Senate, you testify before the Senate, you have some accountability to the Senate or to the Congress for testimony. But when you're a senior advisor of the President, as Karl Rove has been, then you are not traditionally required to go testify before the Congress. So that element of executive privilege, confidentiality of communications between the President and his senior people is a very important one, and it shouldn't be violated, and I don't believe it will be in this case.
But the public might say, what do you got to hide?
Well,
and that would be logical. What do you got to hide?
First of all, there's no charge. You know, what's the allegation of wrongdoing here? Frankly, there isn't any. With respect to the U.S. attorneys, there's been, I think, a bit of a witch hunt on Capitol Hill as they keep rolling over rocks hoping they can find something, but there really hasn't been anything come up that would suggest there was any wrongdoing of any kind.
The New York Times, which is not, as you said, is not your favorite place, reports it was you who dispatched Gonzalez and Andy Card to the then Attorney General John Ashcroft's hospital in 2004 to push Ashcroft to certify the President's intelligence gathering program. Was it you?
I don't recall the, first of all, I haven't seen the story. And I don't recall that I gave instructions to that effect.
That would be something you would recall.
I would think so, but certainly I was involved because I was a big advocate of the terrorist surveillance program, and had been responsible and working with General Hayden and George Tenet to get it to the President for approval. By the time this occurred, it had already been approved about 12 times by the Department of Justice. There was nothing sort of new about it. I don't recall that I was the one who sent them to the hospital. There was nothing sort of new about it. I don't recall that I was the one who sent them to the hospital.